channel on
Okay.
YouTube. Derek, what's your YouTube channel?
Just Derek Lambert.
Yeah. All right.
Derek Lambert. All right. So I'm going to try and get the audio here right real quick, Dr. B.
Hi, guys. I hope this is working. I don't know. Can everyone hear me on this? Can somebody tell me
just give me a second. I'm getting this right here. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I don't even know.
Okay.
Oops, I just screwed up.
So let me see if I can get your audio to this thing here real quick.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but anyway, I put you guys all on. You're all.
All right. I think. How did that work?
I can't even tell.
All right, guys, are you getting an echo? Let me know in the comment section right now from Facebook and YouTube. Go ahead and talk, Dr. B. I want to see if they can. They're getting an echo or not.
Testing 1 2 testing 1 2.
What is going on, everybody? Okay, so no echo. Everything sounds good. I think the mic is working real well. I've got Dr. Fareed Banimad, Dr. B joining me, and we're going to be talking about some good stuff. So just give it 1 second, let everyone roll in, and you guys are going to want to check this out. I think this is important because my best friend Ashton Mott, which you guys are going to see in my intro, if you go back to any of my videos from the past that I've edited this intro in, you'll not only see my brother Kurt, but you also see my best friend Ashton. And so I'm gonna go ahead and jump us off with an intro here, Dr. B, and then we'll get started. Sound good?
Okay. Go ahead, Derek.
All right. The guy on the right is Ashton, and my buddy Ashton's been on the channel a couple times, and he's no longer with us. You know, we lost him to addiction. His mother is an amazing woman. I met them in we went and stayed at a log cabin for a few days in California. I got to know them quite personally and found them to be wonderful, wonderful people. Ashton was like, honestly, such a teddy bear. Like, he couldn't hurt a thing. You know, he was just such a good guy. And, you know, we lost him to addiction. So we tried a lot of things, Dr. B, and I figure we'd start off, and I'll throw a few things out there to kind of get your take. You know, I'm not the expert in this field. You are. And I want to tell you, maybe like, since I met him, the things that we tried to keep him alive, the same way I, you know, try to stay alive myself, as well as the thousands that have watched Rewired Addiction, Derek Lambert. And when I first met him, he reached out because he was struggling, you know, obviously with abusing pills. He would constantly, you know, escape reality using the substances. And we clicked right off the bat. You know, he wanted to help me get a website going, make this thing something big where we could touch the world. And he had such aspirations to do great things in life. And then he overdosed, and his mom found him once again, almost dead. Blue. He was breathing in his fluids, all the vomit. He was inhaling the vomit. I think he was face down on the bed. And his mom took him to the hospital. They injected him with Narcan. He said it felt like frozen ice running through his veins. It was the worst experience he said he ever had. And then on top of that, him having to get all the fluids that, you know, came from his stomach that are now in his lungs out. And he didn't want to live that way. So he chose to go to this program called Stout Street. A lot of people who go to prison or are in trouble with the law, you know, the government forces them to go to these places. And he chose to go there. And he was supposed to go for like a year and a half, but he went for about 9 months at Stout Street, abstinent off everything. They had pretty strict regimen on how they would work with the addict and how they would deal with things. They would have addicts yelling at each other sometimes. Like, he was explaining all these different tactics that they were trying to do to build up your foundation on how to survive in this world, because the world's not always a pretty place, and how to set boundaries, how to, you know, have a healthy relationship with everybody. He left there and he's like, dude, I'm never going back. Like, I'm never going to need to use again with these tools that I now have. And he went back to normal life. He started helping me out for a while, you know, with things that I'm trying to do with Rewired Addiction and just in life. And then he was feeling the pressure of responsibilities that he needed to get a job, all this stuff started hitting him really, really hard, like a lot of stress. But he succeeded in getting a job. He was doing really, really well at work. He got a new car, a blue car. For anyone who's watching and knows Ashton, I mean, like, he started really doing really well in life. And then out of the blue, I get called by someone I didn't even know. They said, "Did you hear Ashton died?" And I went, "What?" Like, he was in anything. It was like when he was struggling, he wasn't using. But as soon as he got on top, everybody's a little different. As soon as he started doing good in life, Dr. B, it's like time to celebrate. So he celebrated, I think, one time with a close friend, and I don't know the full ins and outs. It was maybe someone close in the family, and I honestly don't know those details, so I don't want to give them out, especially till I speak to his mom again. But he tried to do it, and when he did it, he overdosed, and he died. They found him the next day dead by himself in the house, and there's no reversing that. So I say that to say up front, like, I know that my method does not always work. In fact, 99% of the time, people aren't going to withdraw at home and make it, period. Like, that's ridiculous to try and do that. If I ever relapsed, I wouldn't even do it that way again myself, personally. I would go get medical help. Being you're a medical doctor, I wanted to ask you, how can we prevent people like my best friend Ashton from ever relapsing and dying out there on the streets again? How do we get them to where they are able to live in a society where they don't have to keep escaping reality and kill themselves? Sorry for the long-winded.
Nope, that's great, Derek. You always bring out so many fantastic questions that hits on everything that I promote, every position I have, everything from substance abuse as not just approaching it from a disease model, but the psychological model, and also my real interest, which hopefully in the near future, I move away from clinical. I've seen 40,000 patients. I'm more interested in changing paradigms in society and views like that. Let me ask you a few questions about him, if I may, and my condolences. When did he pass?
About a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Month and a half ago. How old was he?
He was 30 years old, about.
30 years old. And how long ago, what's the name of the program that he went to? That he went for 9 months, but he was supposed to stay 15 months. And it's seems like a lot of post-parolees go there.
Yeah. Stout Street.
Stout Street. How long ago did he go there?
Good question. I'd say maybe a year and a half. I think he was probably clean outside of there for like 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Maybe 6 at the most.
Okay. This brings out so much stuff. Number one, this young man, and I want to qualify this in saying, I am not playing Monday morning quarterback for the loved ones and those grieving at this time. No one knows. I do hope that from this young man's case, Ashton's case, we can learn something so we can potentially apply to others. But in no way, shape, or form am I playing Monday morning quarterback saying if they would have done this, he would have been well. My heartfelt condolences go out to him and the family. As you know, I have someone I care about dearly that is, so tall. So I'm not doing that. How long was he using? His whole life, pretty much?
No, not his whole life, actually. He had a pretty good life. I think he did this late in his years. I would say probably started using 4 or 5 years ago with painkillers and things like that. And but he messed with ecstasy, the same stuff I went through, like different phases of things. But
a lot of opiates.
Mainly opiates, yes, sir.
All right. So this young man went into this program, and these programs are fantastic. I don't mean to knock any of these down. It's great. And it really shows you the vacuum of our society in terms of services that we need to have, that I feel that the government should supply, and everyone should be taking care of using the best science and professionalism there. But these programs, for the most part, are put together by, a band of brothers, so to say, right? And they do tremendous jobs, right? But you don't always get evidence-based care. So my suspicion is He got a great set of tools from case managers, social workers, maybe therapists, counselors. If he's lucky, a real licensed psychologist. Fantastic. All right. My suspicion is if again, I don't know this patient. I'm not diagnosing. I am just making certain assumptions for our collective learning purposes and future decisions. Okay. So I want to also say that if there was any mental health issues, I don't know if they were addressed that were underlying this. As I've said on TikTok, and maybe I can clarify for some of the viewers out there, there's usually deep-rooted events going back to childhood that often in our society are not ever addressed and would have had to be addressed in the long term. And number three, he probably wasn't on maintenance medication, whether it's Suboxone or methadone or what, those are really it. Vivitrol is not. So that's number one. So he gained a whole bunch of tools, went out, and really sort of did what you would expect. Let me give you an analogy. If you have diabetes and I get you tip-top shape for 4 months, give you your medication, you're getting your education about diet, you're getting your education about exercise, you are in that structured regimented program, you are taking your medicines, doing your diet, educated about what carbohydrate is good, bad, all that stuff. Then I say, take care, go. You don't have medication or any more care. Now you are going to have problems. This is a chronic thing, not in the 12-step way. I don't mean it that way, that once an addict, always addict, but you have to approach it from a chronic disease model and do mental health and medication maintenance ongoing. And he did what is expected, an episode of use. So what happens is we're used to we don't know how to cope and get through this complex society. Okay. So he was having some dopamine rushes by doing well. And he did what's expected. Oh, I'm okay. I feel potentially, I don't know him. I'm speculating. Oh, I feel pretty good. I can get away with taking a pill. And that turns into 2 pills. That turns into 5 pills. Then he does what you expect an addict or substance abuse patient to do. I got this. I can outsmart this. I'll go back to what I was. It doesn't work that way. There was nobody involved in a chronic care disease long-term approach. Society and resources aren't there for this very marginalized population as far as I'm concerned. And it escalated, and we had a catastrophe that is just tragic. And it's one of the things I'm trying to do through this social media, which I didn't know how powerful it was going to be. I want to change, we want to address these issues where if someone like Ashton has an issue, no, you're not okay even after 12 months. You got to show me 5 to 10 years, and I have to be interacting with you. And this doesn't apply for everybody, right? It depends on who you are, what your history is, mental health, what your substance abuse history is, what your constitution is, what your behavioral pattern is. All of that has to be assessed. But pound for pound in general, this is how this could have potentially not have led to the tragic outcome that it did. And this happens way too much. Yeah. And on his end, it's like, oh my God, if I relapse, I'm going to say it again. I say it all the time to patients. A return to use is an episode of use, not a relapse. And it's the expectation, not the, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the unexpected, and it just needs to be maintained. Again, it doesn't apply to everybody. I know you. I know your history. You are doing amazingly well. You have all the tools to cope with the world, but that's not for everybody, and that's okay. And that's my take on that, Derek.
That was really well said, Dr. Beek, because I didn't tell you this, and I'm sure most of the world who's watching doesn't know. Unless you knew Ashton, Ashton's father had to leave. I'll leave the reasons out early on in life. And I mean, they were a real severe situation. And so, and he never got to see his father again. And so there is that place where me and Ashton have talked, and he told me, he's like, he didn't feel wanted. He didn't feel like, someone wanted him. So there was an empty space always inside. And he could have been there probably for 15 months and still would have left and still had that space there that needed working on. And that's a lifelong thing. That's not something that happens overnight. And I didn't have that. I had different damages that were done to me. And having to forgive and kind of learn how to just accept those things, it's taken a long time, and realizing through my own mistakes how I was able to do these things. But I mean, look, I always tell people I escaped by the hairs on my chin, and still don't know how I did, because I look back like, how did I just make it through that, and get where I'm at? I just can't even, to put that into words. It's almost like, all right, I need you guys to get your hiking boots on. I want you to go through the Appalachian Mountains, then climb through the Rockies. I want you to go over to Alaska, like the hardest thing you can imagine. It was the most difficult thing, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. But Ashton had that deep down emptiness. He always did. And he was alone when he overdosed this last time.
Okay. You nailed it again. Okay. Again, TikTok is, what sucks about it is you got 30, 40 seconds to say something, and I mentioned on there, the deep root of cause of addiction is lack of meaning, and a concept called anomie. And you can interpret that however you want, presented by a French sociologist, Emile Durkheim, in a book he wrote over 100 years ago on suicide. And it's anomie, ANOMIE, and there's different spellings. Disconnectedness, loneliness, okay, lack of meaning. And I've said the way you want to bring these kids up is not for them to find meaning in the external world, the shit they wear, what they're pure. You want to create that meaning in the home, so when substances present themselves, people are not empty, okay? And I am not being moralistic when I say, two parents at home, constant love and attention, and recently I made another thing. I said gateway drug is society, not marijuana. You do the drugs. And, a lot of people came on there and said trauma, disconnectedness, loneliness, all of that is 100% right. But I want everyone to take one step back. What kind of social structure are we living in that there's so much of that shit, right? We don't have the political economy and society created. We are pushing more and more for disconnectedness, loneliness, automation of individuals. And we are also taking away, and I'm a physician saying this because most guys, on my end, we're all supposed to be part of the establishment. And I was a university professor for all my career. And I step outside of this because it's my moral categorical duty to say this. We don't have everyone should have services, healthcare services to create let me go back. Everybody should have an opportunity to grow up healthy and have healthcare, have enough money to live, and we are creating worse and worse and worse situation that contributes to that unhealthy childhood, which everyone's calling trauma, disconnectedness. There's crumbs left out there for people. I see some of the faces of so many people on social media. These are extremely courageous and brave people. And when you work on someone with medication, I always said this about Brody, and I can mention his name because he was in the paper. He had gone to 35 detoxes. I just spoke with him yesterday. He's up on the Northwest. And I used to wonder about this kid who was 21 years old. Okay, I got you kind of clean. You're in my program. You've been to 35 programs. What in the hell am I supposed to do? Back to that shitty environment that you came from and tell you to get a shitty job for $12 an hour? And because that is the environment that created whatever trauma you had in the first place. And this is where my real goal in all of this is, first and foremost, to educate everybody about the medications you need, what is addiction, what is the science of addiction. From there, take care of your mental health to the extent that you need medication. And you know what? From there, I hope that through this avenue of the symptomology of the toxic political economy that we live in, we can start pushing back and changing the paradigms of society. It's a stepward process for me. And this case brings all of it out, man.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. There's so much we have to change. I'll make one comment, then I'd like to ask you another probing question, if you don't mind, because this is educational, but also very personal for me, as well as many people who are watching who've lost a loved one or know a loved one or know someone who lost a loved one. I am glad, and this is my own opinion, you can take it or leave it. I'm very thankful that they're decriminalizing in Oregon, and they're actually trying to create a harm reduction method instead of criminalizing people like me, because my first offense ever, I'm a felon. I've only committed one legal crime that I've been caught for. Don't get me wrong. I've done other bad things. I'm not going to play it like I didn't deserve what I got, but I'm saying I was sick, and I know that I'm not that kind of individual. I did whatever was necessary to feed what the cravings in my mind were constantly telling me I must do. It was more than sex. It was more than food. It was more than water. It was better than sleep. It was better than the love that I had inside my own house with my wife. And so I know what that's like. We need better remedies for this. And so I want to probe with this question, I guess, Dr. B, that I think is important. Ashton, when he left that treatment program, which was an abstinent program completely, he had to work it was like a communistic type society, whereas you worked to maintain your stay at Stout Street. Everything was earned by you and given to the recovery community. You went to, like, out Walmart, they'd stand outside of Walmart and ask people coming in if they don't mind donating so they could have deodorant and, wash stuff material, maybe a t-shirt, things like that. Like, they were literally technically beggars in some cases. And then they also picked up jobs as time went on. But he left there and went into a halfway house that was right down the street from an old lady that gets prescribed the meds that he liked, Opanas. And she's such a sweetheart. She was always kind to him, but she was making a buck. And he could just walk up to her door and, hey, Miss Sally Sue, I don't know her name. I don't care. I wouldn't say it if I did know it. The point is he's just he could go anytime he wants. And he told me he was tempted. So he had to move to another halfway house. He had he wasn't taking any medications that I'm aware of. No maintenance medications. How would it have changed for him, in your opinion, or maybe would have changed for him, because we can't predict or know what would have exactly happened, but what would have gone differently, in your opinion, if he would have been talking to a doctor or something rather than trying to do it on his own and thinking he had everything that was necessary to not have to relapse?
Yeah, I mean, we can approach this from two different approaches. Let's start with the biggest sort of the 30,000-foot view. Just by mathematical probability, we have 50 years of data. You will have a better chance at long-term recovery and getting your life together moving forward if you're on maintenance medication. If I even had this stuff flooded in the streets and people are doing it themselves, which creates a lot of problems, and they do it wrong, you'd still probably have a better outcome. But at the more individual level and the clinical level, if he is on this stuff allows, I'm going to put it simply, brain healing to occur. If you're on the right dose, and if you really do it right, which I'd like to think I do it right, I don't just hand you a prescription and say, see you later. Depending on where you are at in terms of your substance abuse and addiction, I tailor the engagement between you and I, or my team and you. And I also micromanage, at least initially, the dosing of this medication, how you take it. And if all of that is done right, again, I don't know this young man, but at the very least, I can say statistically, he would have had a much better chance at outcome. Up front, we can easily say, especially in the early time, it addresses cravings and withdrawals. I'm going to take some more steps and say it deals with anxiety, it deals with sleep, mood regulation, and I know this for a fact, and there's data that backs me up. So the medication would have been really important for this guy. But again, I want to point something else you said. He basically went into a kind of a Salvation Army kind of program. These are amazing programs, and it's sort of the last stop for a lot of people. But we have to really think about this. It's the 21st, and I keep going back to this because eventually this is the only thing I want to talk about is changing the stigma, shifting the paradigm, and getting the rest of society on board. When you have a program like that, not only did I say, they don't have all the resources to provide you the best, latest care, but it only works. It's an intensity of care for the level your disease is at. So you got to be at a certain place with your disease to even enter a hardcore program like that. All right. That's a small part of folks. What about everybody else, right? That don't need that level of intensity or are not willing to go. Think about it. These programs do a great job. A guy that worked for me went through the Salvation Army program, and he's done pretty well. But what about everyone else? It's the 21st century. We're supposed to be in the greatest country on the planet, and Portugal is kicking the shit out of us in terms of recovery numbers and people being put behind bars. And then you also brought up this other thing. I'm going to just call it what it is: prison industrial complex. There's the medical industrial complex. There's it's bullshit, right? You're going to put someone that's sick. What do you achieve by putting someone that has an addiction problem behind bars? You are destroying lives and all the lives around them. How much, well, I know already the RAND study in the early 90s, how much cheaper is it to put them in a 1-year program of recovery? The whole system is screwy. Mm-hmm. And I'm really getting a sense of that, Derek. And for those of you on TikTok or watching from TikTok, I was very against getting on TikTok. I didn't even know what it was 2.5 months ago. My team showed it to me. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? This is like 15-second clips, 20-second clip, whatever it was. I'm like, I can't do what I was being a little highbrow. I'm a university professor. And they're like, come on, Dr. B, just give it a. So they did one. And then that day it had like 90,000 views. Since that time, I try to read as many messages as I can, give some feedback. And I'm like, shit, there's such a vacuum of care and information out there, and people need so much feedback in this area and many other areas that I've realized, heck, if I can get to people on TikTok and give them some decent information that they can't get anywhere else, and people are saying it's helping their recovery, hell yeah. So all of this goes hand in hand and really addresses this kid's situation.
Yeah. You remind me a lot of Gabor Mate in a lot of ways. You're a little different though, but Gabor Mate I'm a huge fan of him and everything he stands for and what he talks about from harm reduction. But he does more than just the medical. What I like about what you do is, there's always this stigma in the recovery community of, are you taking enough substance? And usually it's between 12-step groups, between those and people that actually are just trying to live in society and survive, and they go to a doctor. And there's always this stigma, and to me, it reminds me of kind of like a religious or tribal distinction. Like if you're not doing it like us, so you're not one of us, you know? And, I can't wait for us to evolve outside of that. But you're looking at things more than just the medical medication standpoint. You recognize there's a sociological, a psychological improvement that is necessary. You can hand someone, these maintenance substances, and sure, it'll keep them alive. But if they're ever one day going to try and, let's say, try to go back into society, you mentioned this, maybe you can give us a little technical stuff. The midbrain connected to the frontal lobar cortex. What's going on here? What happened and what's going on here, Dr. B?
Yeah, let's executive function. That's your frontal cortex, your prefrontal cortex. And let me just say this. We live in an extremely complex society where so much has to be processed more than ever before. In addition, there's another way to look at this. And this guy, Alvin Toffler, wrote a classic called Future Shock. He was an intellectual, a thinker. He's long passed away now. And he pointed something out. It's not that we're progressing in society. The rate of change of progression is so rapid to soak all this shit in and cope is a whole different monster. And with substance abuse, if you started young enough, you lose that capacity. If you started before the age of 25, let me give you a little piece here. If I went to Africa or somewhere in the bush, and I found some, and this is actually true, I can't remember where it is. I found a tribe, and you become a man by definition at the age of 14. And at that age, you get married and you're on your own. The way it works is this: you have to learn how to hunt, and you have to have productive semen. Okay, you accomplish those two things. Now you're part of the big boys club. Their frontal cortex develops way earlier than ours, which ours takes 25. In fact, if you look at Western society, American society, that's why we call it the teen years, right? Because it takes that many years to go from childhood to real adulthood, right? When you introduce substance abuse, that impulsive behavior that is, excuse me, that is a sort of archaic mechanism in our primate brain starts to take over, and you just make shitty decisions. You have to get people I don't want to say back. You have to get people to a place where they make not impulsive decisions, but executive function decisions from the frontal cortex to deal with their everyday life. Now, add to that component that we live in a very complex society. The level of stress has never been seen before, but also, in my view, the society and the fundamental structures that it has in place are toxic. They're not promoting Derek coming up in this world, making sure his rent is paid, his health care is taken care of, his future is taken care of. Everything in our society is driven by bullshit. Let me give you one example. Think about our healthcare system. I don't know if anyone ever thinks about that. You go to a doctor, his job is to get paid, and the hospital's job is to get paid. But you have health insurance, private health insurance. Their job as a business is to make as much money as possible. They're going to try to reduce payment and not approve as many things as they can, because the primary job is to survive as a company. Mm-hmm. Now, take that model and apply to everything like drug production, social services, me hiring you for a job at Amazon. You have basically a jungle, and you have marketing that feeds everybody just complete shit. What kind of society is that? the insurance company isn't going to come out and say, hey, drug addiction is a disease. And you know what? I'm going to promote good care and make sure everyone gets paid and everyone gets into care for 6 to 9 months and has chronic maintenance care afterwards, because that's the right thing to do. Ironically, they would end up saving money. Pfizer or Purdue isn't going to come out and say, you know what? Roxy's are good for a very short period of time, for a very few things. I got $1 billion of overhead every month, but I'm going to tell you the truth, and you can use it how you want. I mean, what the fuck do people expect? Of course, they're going to push the market curve.
That's true.
Right? You ever think about that? And so everyone's filled with lies about everything.
So, Dr. B, let me ask you this. I want to bring some people on. If anyone has any questions, I'm here. I'm chatting the StreamYard link. You are welcome to come in and ask a few questions. We won't be on all night, but this is something I would like to start doing, because I get out of the habit, right, of I got so much going on, like life hits you. I get out of the habit of doing these on the Rewired Addiction channel, and I liked the last one I did where I was interactive, and I'd love to have you come back on, Dr. B, because you're not only educated, all right, on this stuff, but I met you in person before in California, and you're just a real down-to-earth guy. I saw how you talk to your patients. Like, I've never met a doctor like you. So that's why I like the way that you were talking to people, and we can help people. We can talk to some people here on Myth. I'm about to talk my other YouTube channel, Rewired Addiction, and we can have anyone who has questions. Maybe they can find something out, and you can give them some advice or something. You guys,
go right ahead. And those of you on TikTok, watching this on TikTok, you can go to Derek's YouTube channel. It's just Derek Lambert, and ask questions. And Derek, I'd like to start doing this regularly and create call-ins. And I think me and you can do some cool stuff. But please go ahead.
Awesome. Well, look, guys, I put it on the screen, but it's in the comment section on Facebook and on YouTube. You guys are welcome to join. If you want to ask a question, just ask one question, then we'll let Dr. B answer, and then we'll get another person to come jump in, and you guys can speak your mind if you have an opinion, or if you guys have a question, preferably a question. Think of something you might want to ask a doctor, if you will. This is not obviously medical advice, because there's no chart. He has nothing to base off of this to be able to give you, like, what about me? What should I do? Well, he doesn't know a lot of things, so he's kind of guessing in that case, and he doesn't like guessing.
And it's illegal, actually, and it's unethical.
See, yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff, and I get that on TikTok, guys. I can't answer a lot of questions. I try to give you generalizations.
I don't blame you. I mean, I wouldn't. Can you imagine if I told you what I do with this, and then you find out I'm actually diagnosed with some other condition that you're not aware of? You don't know my blood pressure. You don't know my whatever it might be. I mean, honestly. So, guys, I posted the link. Feel free to tune in. If you don't want to tune in, that's fine. I can work through a few of these comments, but it's fun and it's interactive. You guys come hang out with me and Dr. B for a second. Why don't you?
I get a couple. I got one here. Hey, doc, what do you think of 10 years of Suboxone use? It's good. It's fine. If it's 10 years of Suboxone use can be okay if it's for the right reason, no problem.
Okay.
And then someone, a lot of people ask, and it just popped up, have I ever been?
We got somebody in the area ready to come on, but go ahead and answer that if you want.
Go ahead. What did I got? Go ahead.
All right. What's up, my brother?
Wow, cool. Hey,
what's up, guys? I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to jump on and say I agree with everything you were just saying, Dr. B, as far as the legal system is just set up where it marks people who are addicts as criminals for life, so your rates of success are just so much.
I think he's blacking out here on the.
He's great. I'm not getting it's kind of we know each other pretty well.
Okay.
But it's kind of sorry, it's kind of gone out. But he's talking about now that it's the legal system is certainly not meant for. The legal system is certainly not meant for rehabilitation. And I'm sorry you got kicked off here somehow. Now, if you are an actual criminal, whatever that means, even they deserve to be reintegrated into society and given the tools. And it's actually set up for failure. Now you're talking about addiction. In my opinion, that is actually simply criminal. But if we get into the details of how this is working, it's crazy. By the way, you come see me out in California, Derek. I have a new venture I'm working on, and it's Project Sanctuary. And it's I took my sober living homes and turned it into Project Sanctuary. It's got 2 tracks for substance abuse, but it's reentry for post-parole, ex-gang members. And, we have some contracts and stuff. And the whole idea of Project Sanctuary, and if you come, you'll see what we're doing. We are providing all the services for these folks, even though they're getting it elsewhere, because there's science that tells me what can I do to make sure that you don't go back to prison or jail and you don't relapse.
That's awesome. We got more people down here. I'm gonna bring some people on here. Hold on real quick. Grind and shine. I'm gonna come back to you, man. I got a couple people in front of you, and it froze on me. So first we're gonna get Jake, then Amanda. What's up, Jake? Can you hear us? Jake. What's up? Can you hear me? Jake. Oh, all right. Amanda. What's up, Amanda?
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
I have a couple questions. So I just had a relapse on Suboxone. And that I took too many of it, which I didn't get high off of it, which I'm not mad about it. So we're switching to Sublocade. I have a couple questions. One, the long-term use of maintenance medication, and then also the efficacy of Sublocade.
Yeah, great questions. So let me put down so in terms of long-term use of maintenance medication, and really that question is, so it is an opiate, right? And we know that. And you're asking about the effects on you. You have to approach everything with a risk-benefit analysis, okay? Now, depending on what your substance of choice was, number one, you're not addicted by being with this stuff. You were already addicted, and this is replacing. Addiction is, basically the whole thing getting worse and worse and worse, affecting every part of your life. So as far as clinical medical side effects, really, especially for men, they got to get their testosterone checked, but they were already on chronic opiates, and this creates some dysregulation within your endocrine system, which can easily be checked and addressed, and constipation, which an astute physician should be able to manage long term. So, and at this time, there's nothing else that I can really think of except a person having some sort of a weird reaction. So, pound for pound, long-term use, we don't know how long a person has to be on it. And what I mean by we don't know, we don't have science that could say, okay, I'm at 6 months and the blood levels show this, time to get off. But we have clinical experience, and you're a physician, should be able to assess when and how to taper off if it's appropriate.
So let me ask you one question, and this I want to ask for Amanda's sake, and then we have other people that are in the queue. Do you think moving from Suboxone to Sublocade, not telling her what to do, of course, because she needs to see her physician, but do you think that's a good move? Because from what she said, she had relapsed or done too much of her Suboxone, and we kind of talked about that before. It's like, what do you think Sublocade's a better replacement? I mean,
So I wanted to really get into what she said and see what she means by that. That's a whole topic on its own, because I have to define that for myself, and really define what is relapse. Now, Sublocade is relatively new, right? And I use it. And again, all these guys, remember, the drug manufacturer is no different than the guy that sells alcohol. They need to push the market curve and sell as much as possible. The way I use Sublocade is for a few different things. Number one, the 100 and 300 dose, I pick and choose depending on your need. Some of my patients that I do use it on need to be on 300 all the time, because once it gets towards the end of the month, they start acting funny, right? But my patients are very honest with me. They call me and say, hey, I just did a line of blow and drank a bottle of whiskey. All right, get your ass in here and let's talk. So I know what they're doing. So, you got to pick and choose. Number two, there's a few people that it's good for. I have patients that really say, I need to be on Sublocade. I do whatever, and I can pick and choose. And I'm like, okay, and we put them on Sublocade. It works for. The other group is if you are a pilot, a conductor, high sensitive job, and your employer needs some security. Okay, that's another group that it's good for. Maybe it's because you want ease of use. There's some patients that I have on Sublocade, and then I actually give them 10 Suboxones a month to supplement that for a variety of reasons. I don't care. You are clean, and the alternative is death. So Sublocade, and we don't have good, solid data. A lot of this stuff comes from the drug companies, and the data is bullshit. So, it's going to take a few years to gather decent data. But Sublocade, intuitively, you can make an educated guess. It's a great medication. I'll tell you who it's not good for. You don't start somebody on Sublocade, right? A guy who's slamming heroin on the street, you don't come in and keep him clean for 7 days and give him Sublocade. There's quite a few steps before we get there, unless I gather 500,000 data points on starting Sublocade early. They got to get on Suboxone. I'll give you a guy who I don't have on Sublocade. Again, Brody. He takes his Suboxone. You want to know why he won't get on it? He is 3 years out after like 40 programs he went to, has his life back, in school, working, family. I mean, no one even recognizes him, but he won't get on Sublocade. Do you want to know, guys, know why he won't? He loves the ritual of taking his Suboxone in the same way he used to put a needle on his arm. And, somebody who's moralistic about this and say, see, you're trading one addiction for another. That's not addiction, right? That's a young kid who's got some obsessive compulsive stuff that 4 years ago, everyone said is dead. They can't even recognize him now. His pants aren't hanging down to his knees anymore either, right? And he's a growing young man with a future ahead of him. But he loves taking his Suboxone at the time that he does, in the way that he does. I'm not going to put him on Sublocade. You slice it for every patient as you see fit, given your clinical experience and the scientific data that defines evidence-based medicine. And you could still be wrong at times. I hope that helps.
Amanda, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Look, I got more guys in the queue, and come back again when we do another live. All right. Grind and shine. You're back.
Oh, there you are.
What's up, guys? Sorry,
Hi.
I was getting a loop on the audio. I just want to say, Dr. B, you're a breath of fresh air I'm glad you're doing what you're doing in the recovery community, because
Thank you.
the stigma against maintenance, when the option, like you said, is death. I've buried over 25 close friends that, just the beginning of the year, I lost a close friend that I grew up with. And, this was a girl who, she left 2 kids behind. And it was all from a relapse. And, I much rather see, people using Matt to get where, like you said, where they're living a functional life and working and being successful again. And, recovery is about supporting each other. You know, the judgment, I don't know. I hate that that's there, you know, sometimes with the Matt issue, but you guys just keep it up, because you know it is needed.
Yeah, I'm 100% with him on that, Dr. B. I think society, it'll get better. Things will change, and the evidence will be there.
And you look, thanks for the feedback. You look better every time I see you. I'm so happy you're doing well. I hadn't seen you for a while, but you look great, man.
Hey, thank you. I'm just actually finishing up treatment, my last month of treatment for my Hep C.
Great.
So yeah, I've got just a couple weeks left of that, man. So I'm gonna jump off here. You guys, you know, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll see you guys around.
You still running your YouTube?
Yeah, I'm still doing my thing.
Go ahead and plug it. Plug it for everybody.
Yeah, Grind to Shine Recovery, guys. Come check me out. I'm always putting new content up. I got some really unique video I'm working on that's touching on parents that are, you know, addicts or have been in the system, because I've been researching the statistics as far as just your kid alone. If you get locked up, your kid alone is that much more likely to be, you know, end up in the system or have them issues. And then if you're an addict, it's like a trauma to them, you know.
I don't mean to. Please go ahead, but don't get off. I gotta. Sorry, I gotta, Derek. I gotta add to this. Please continue.
So I just want to encourage people. I mean, like, one big part of my recovery is making sure I give my kids the best chance possible to succeed, and give them routine. I know I got to keep a routine for myself, like, you know what I mean, like, and I try to instill them things in my kids, because I know just statistically their chances, you know what I mean, I got to hold myself accountable to at least make up for the fact that they're more likely to end up maybe having addiction issues or ending up in the legal system.
So I just want to add something to this, and I haven't talked so much about this, and my goal is to move towards this. So this is sad. I just turned 50, and that means I'm old, and you guys are young. But in the 90s, when I was at UC Berkeley back then, I would protest that 3 strikes laws, and the data and the science of everything he's saying. I've been reading this shit for 25, 30 years. It's disgusting, right? We are creating more addicts, more sociopaths, people with anxiety, people with depression. I mean, you know, we can spend 1/20th of the money that we spend, and even in his case right now, right? Give him assistance, get education and child development, parenting, resources for the kid to get involved in education. All these guys need help. And look at him. Look at you. Everyone's doing this shit on their own. And we're all reaching out to each other.
All right, buddy.
It's a bad situation. I just wanted to add that, but thank you so much. Reach out if you need something, man.
Oh, yeah, I will. You guys take care, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Dr. B and Derek. You guys have a good one, man.
Bye-bye.
That's awesome. We got another person here. I'm going to change the view to this here. I wanted to see your couch, Dr. B. I wanted to see your folded clothes. That's why I did this.
Oh, man. I am a single guy with and I just sold my home and moved to this really cool place. But I'm embarrassed now. Everyone sees this place. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. I just thought I'd make you embarrassed a little. Ralph, what's up, man? Welcome, man.
Not bad. And you?
Good, man. Do you have any questions or anything specific?
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you one thing. I was on, actually, I got stabilized 16 milligrams of Suboxone. That's been maybe 3-4 years ago. I got up. I stayed clean. I relapsed again. Now I got back up to 180 milligrams of methadone. 180. So I'm asking myself, I did try to go down. I went down to 160, 140. Whoa, relapsed again. Now back up again. Now, what is the best maintenance? I mean, to slow down the shit. I mean, to cut it down. What is the best dose that you think?
So a couple of questions. So there is no answer to that, but let me rephrase the question and give the best I can without doctoring, because I can't do that.
Nice.
You were on 60 milligrams of Suboxone. Why'd you come off? And then when you were starting again, why'd you go to methadone versus Suboxone?
Because actually I stopped completely. Then I relapsed again. That's why I got back on methadone. Because I told myself Suboxone is not working for me, maybe. So I got on methadone.
How long were you clean on Suboxone?
And I was okay on methadone. But the problem is, exactly. So when I got on methadone, I was clear. How long? Maybe about 3 years, 3 years and a half.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say. I'll do the best I can. I wouldn't say Suboxone wasn't working for you. I'd say you had an episode of use. You shouldn't have. When you say you come off, you tapered off, or you just one day stopped taking it and did some dope.
No, I stopped taking it completely.
Okay. Was someone following you close? This is where that chronic care has to be important. You have to tell Ralph you have to tell him, Ralph, let me drive the freaking bus. All right. If you're going to do something, talk to me first. And once you do it, if you goof up, come right back into my office. I'm not here to judge you, man. Let's get back on the horse. So that's all happened. Then he decided, and I wish somebody really well-versed would have discussed with him. And I am a full advocate of methadone. As you know, I run a methadone clinic in Hollywood with the really down and out population. And that's another thing people don't know I do. It's a Hollywood medical rehab clinic. And so you're on 180, which is a big dose. What state are you? Where do you
Pardon
live?
me?
What state do you live in?
Florida.
Florida? Okay. Is there? I mean, you gotta. It's not the right. Are you getting high off the methadone, or is it just maintaining you?
No, just maintaining. But as soon as I go down, I mean, I can't even go down to 30. As soon as I get off 30, whoa, relapse again. I mean, it's incredible.
How fast? Yeah. So how fast are you going down? I don't know if Ralph.
She started off me maybe 5 milligrams per week.
Oh, I would go down 1 milligram at a. I mean, the way I would probably do it when I see that kind of problem, I would go 1 milligram at a time. Take it easy, because remember, we are playing with a certain set of dynamics and factors here. Some of them you can change, some of them you can't change. And it's not infinite number of days that you're on this earth, but the goal is to have as much quality of life as possible. If you're working, everything else is going good. And the methadone is a heavy drug. You should come down a little bit. But the way I would do it is 1 milligram, okay? Because you know what? Think about it. 52 weeks, at the end of 52 weeks, you're down 52 milligrams if it's working exactly as they're done. So I would go 1 milligram a week, maybe, check on you, see how your symptoms are. If you get to sort of a barrier where there's some issues, I would just hold you there, keep a close eye on you, and let you adjust to that, and then move forward. There's no freaking rush. The only rush is Ralph doing okay, right? Is he doing?
I understand.
Yeah.
Dr. B, that was really well put. I would talk to my doctor, Ralph. That's what I would do, because that'd be the important part. We have someone down in the queue. Thank you for your question, brother. We've got to move on to another person. I hope to see you again.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's just my
Stay safe,
general
guys.
thought.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. B, that's awesome. I'm going to bring on Ashley here. Yeah, I feel like we're getting close to, we got to be careful. I just don't want us to cross that line and start giving medical. So
that is in general what I would do with someone who has problems. Ralph, you need to talk to your physician about that.
Cool.
And, there could be a bunch of other factors I'm not seeing here. But this is what I would do in general with a patient having that kind of problem.
Ashley, what's up?
Hi, sorry, I look a little crazy because I'm dyeing my hair, but I just want to say I love both of you guys. I've been watching you for a long time, Derek. You're amazing, and this is the first time me seeing you, Dr. B. But so I'm on Suboxone maintenance, and I've been on it like on and off for 2 years. And so, but my doctor said it's okay to be on it long term. I'm just wondering though, how do you feel about cannabis?
I'll tell you, the red flag that went off in my head was on and off for 2 years, because I'm thinking to myself, why on and off? You should be on it until the appropriate time. Number two, I'm going to say something, and I think I might have done one on TikTok about cannabis that might be controversial, and a lot of people won't like it. Keep in mind, I went to school, and I'm from part of California that when I was young, you could be smoking dope on the street, and the Berkeley police would walk by and couldn't care less. I guess some people would call me a progressive. I'm not anything. I just like reality. That being said, the cannabis, when in the 90s, they would tell us, well, this crap ain't nothing but like what we had in the 60s. This is 100 times more powerful. I can tell you that the crap that they have now is nothing like what they had in the 90s. It's not just more powerful. I don't even know, with the wax derivations. And keep this in mind. I'm going to take a second here and answer your question. When they're promoting pot to fix every freaking thing under the sun, they are no different, and they're no saints and prophets different than the pharmaceutical industry trying to push a drug for everything under the sun, right? Except it's work. It's not regulated. This is what people I don't give a shit if it's natural or called natural. Cocaine is natural. Okay. So keep that in mind. Number one, it's an industry that wants to make bank. Number two, we are now starting to see with good science and data coming out, low-level data and the hierarchy of what's good data, people are going in with things like psychosis and so forth from side effects of this stuff that you guys have. Number two, people, before when I would go to American Society of Addiction Medicine lectures and I'd listen to all these guys talk about the withdrawals of marijuana, I'm looking at these guys saying, you're a cracker. This is nonsense. You're just saying that because you're wearing a tie, and I'm out of here. And now I can say for real, there's real withdrawals and people are having issues. And what those guys were saying was whatever it was. Hope I don't lose my membership, but it's a real thing. And then I don't. And then in terms of the substance abuse community, I can say this from my own clinical experience. I don't know if there's formal data. It occurred to me, I'm kind of dumb and slow. It occurred to me a couple of years ago, wow, she's sitting here saying she used to be homeless. I have her on subs. She's living in one of our sober living homes, her and 100 other people. And I keep telling her, you cannot smoke pot in a sober living home. Well, it's legal. So is alcohol, but you can't smoke it there. And this goes on, and I'm nice. I give a week, 2 weeks, 10 weeks. And it occurs to you, she would rather get kicked out than stop smoking pot and relapse on heroin. And when you talk to her, she's sitting here saying, I need this to live, go to work, do this. And you're like, wait, that sounds like addiction. And then once I really became, put my foot down in my programs that are more intense, and then my outpatient people, whoever I got within that community of users, right, drug addicts, whoever I got to stop smoking pot, again, this is clinical experience, so it's anecdotal experience from Dr. B. They just skyrocketed in every area that was an issue. Moving forward, their anxiety, their sleep, which they were taking it for in the first place. And I can explain the mechanism of that. Getting a job, staying sober. I don't know why. And so now that's how I feel about it. And I know there's programs out there that use marijuana. It's harm reduction. Marijuana is not harm reduction. That's not the definition of harm reduction. So I'm against it. I let my outpatients slip, but I always educate. I put my foot down when I see you having a real issue.
Right. Okay. I was just asking because like I said, I'm on subs right now, and I was thinking about trying to switch over and quit doing subs, but I didn't know if that would be a good idea. So that's why I was asking you. No? Okay.
Again, I don't want to play your doctor. There has to be certain things in place for you to taper down subs slowly, thoughtfully, and if you have any issues, you stop. And I'd rather have you on subs for the rest of your life, and then you go on and live your life to the fullest because the risk and benefits don't add up, than you getting off and playing this yo-yo game that addiction does to people in the United States. It's got to stop. You got to stop. You got to figure out a way to move forward, and I hope you have providers that understand that.
Yeah,
Ashton.
I do. I have a really good sub doctor, and he doesn't think it's a good idea either. So I was just, and he said, you can come off if you need to, and you can be on it the rest of your life if you need to. And so I was just trying to ask him for a second opinion too, you know?
Oh, wow. This is one of the few times I've heard a doctor say that. So tell him I think he kicks ass.
Okay.
Ashley, I want to say something just on one note that I've said this before, but I probably don't believe this because it's something I say in my phase I'm in right now, abstinent, and I made it this far. If I ever relapsed, I would do anything to survive. I don't care what the stigma is. I don't care what people think, right?
Right.
I know from experience in the past, because I used to love smoking back in high school. I'm sure you feel like the same way back in the day. Yeah. Put the Tupac and Biggie on in the car and jam out, you know. But, you know, that worked for a while. And then when I went back to try it, it didn't work the same way. But what I'm saying is I personally don't want you, just for my own, this is just for me as an addict, no expert in anything other than knowing how to use drugs. I don't want you to give up the idea that maybe your Suboxone doesn't work or something doesn't work because you've had troubles or bad experiences through those things. Like for me, I could say, well, screw Suboxone or Subutex because I've done Suboxone and Subutex and I got off successfully and I was clean for a short period of time. Then I relapsed. That didn't mean it didn't work. I chose to end the program. I chose to stop going to the every day because I didn't have a doctor who sent me a 30-day thing. I chose to stop the program, and I ended up getting where I am. Thankfully, I'm not, in a situation where I have to go every month, but to me, I see no difference between someone who's on Suboxone and me if we're all getting to the same goal, and that's a progression in life, and we're doing better. If that's what's helping you, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I take Benadryl once in a while to go to sleep. Sometimes I'll do melatonin. I'll take an ibuprofen if I got a headache. I drink coffee in the morning. Am I all of a sudden worse than the guy who doesn't drink coffee or doesn't take a Benadryl to go to sleep or doesn't, you know what I'm saying? So don't let any of that affect you is all I'm saying. From one
and I've done pretty successful on Subutex. So I'm just, I'm glad that I got to speak to both of you because, now, it was just good. I'm glad I got to speak to both of you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your guys' opinion.
Yeah, you're doing great. Stay strong, okay?
Thank you.
Come back on sometime. All right.
Of course. Okay, bye-bye.
Hi, Ashley. I just want to make a comment. I just saw a gal on TikTok, Elephant954, and I've seen her on TikTok, but she sent me a message, and I get so many thousands of messages. Elephant, I hope you're on. But she asked me about a health problem, and certain things raise flags in my brain because I always joke around. I'm like, I know everything. Ask me, and I'll give you my feedback. But I was trying to look for her message because it was a health condition that I do know, and she probably thinks, how does he? Oh, there she is. And I think it was you, Elephant, that sent me that thing. You don't have to repeat it on your thing. I do know what that condition is. It is a rare condition. I do know about its management, which brings on a new complexity to your whatever your issues are. Somehow reach out to me. Nicole, you got to get a hold of me. Good luck. There's Nicole at the number. There's I guess, and I don't know how to use any of this stuff, private messages, but I couldn't find your thing. So get a hold of me, because that raised the flag, Elephant, and I want to give you some feedback on that. And sometimes you got to wait, because I'm just super busy. Oh, there's Diary of an Addict. She's super cool.
Guys, you can join us, by the way. And I do have TikTok live going. So if you're watching the TikTok and you're on the TikTok checking it out, that's cool. I've already been told by people to jump over to the YouTube channel, Derek Lambert. My name is spelled right there. You guys come over and check it out. It's a little bit better because you can actually see Dr. B and people who are joining. And we'll spend like another 20 minutes or so, maybe, or so, something like that on here. So if you guys have anything you guys want to jump on and say, hit that like button, by the way, while you're at it, if you don't mind. I really appreciate the likes. That helps YouTube see our channel. Yeah, let me show everybody. So I'm on YouTube here, and you guys can come join, ask questions, hang out, whatnot. Dr. B, look, early on, I appreciate you helping me with, talking about my best friend who overdosed and died. And I personally do feel like if he had something substance-wise that filled that craving, that kept him from feeling like slipping up. Plus, if he did slip up, mind you, these were opioids. They were not even the street kind. They were prescription, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if he'd taken anything else with it, but if he was taking Suboxone because of the naloxone in there, wouldn't that have prevented a potential overdose?
No.
No?
Well, yes.
Okay.
But not the naloxone. And this is something we can go. The buprenorphine. So Suboxone is a mix of buprenorphine and naloxone. I won't spend time. We'll do this at a later time. He would have prevented overdose if there was enough in his system, but it's not the naloxone that prevents it. It's the buprenorphine, which binds tighter to the mu receptors than agonist opiates. And in fact, the naloxone, when taken under the tongue, is an inactive, dead substance. And a lot of people, even clinicians, don't understand. But yeah, he could have potentially prevented overdose because of the buprenorphine. Yes.
I got a good question here. We did a video on this a while back where you touched on it, but we didn't really stick much on it. My phone says 15% battery. All right. This is a good question right here. Just Ellie says, are subs the main source of mat now? I don't see much talk about methadone. It saved my life.
Which one? Methadone saved your life? Yeah,
yes.
I think that's,
sounds like methadone saved Ellie's life.
Right. So I love that question. And that brings up a couple of things. Number one, let me tell whoever many people are out there, just so you know, I don't use the term because most people would think, what the hell is he talking about? He's an idiot. It's not called MAT anymore. Okay, it hasn't been called MAT by proper designation, but nobody knows this. It's MAT's medication-assisted treatment. It's called medication for opiate abuse. There's a reason for that, and they're correct. They're taking the lead, and I discussed this years ago, and they just did it. They're taking the lead from the World Health Organization, and the point is this. Look, by the numbers, even if you don't have any mental health intervention, if I just flooded the planet with this stuff, I would have a much bigger impact than if people were going to 12-step in therapy. I know this by the numbers. So why are we calling it assisted treatment where everything else is the assistance? So just so everyone knows, we don't need to get into why that is. I agree with it 100%. It's called medication for whatever, opiate abuse, substance abuse, and so forth. Number two, Vivitrol is not, I'm going to use the term medication-assisted treatment, but that's not what it is. Vivitrol is not medication-assisted treatment. The two are methadone and buprenorphine, Suboxone. Methadone is an amazing drug, okay? We need to, and in fact, a lot of our data for medication-assisted treatment, I'm going to call it maintenance medication, come historically from methadone. It decreases infectious disease, crime, staying in recovery, not going to jail, it just goes on and on and on and on. Methadone, the problem is, the way I think of it is, and again, this is making money, right? Methadone clinics make bank. Many people can probably be on buprenorphine nowadays. And I think methadone oftentimes in many places is mismanaged for these people. But methadone, for some people, it's absolute lifesaver, okay? And I'm a big fan of methadone, but I am not much of a fan within our social political economy and the way it's done here in general. And one should know methadone is think of it like this. You got a chemotherapy drug that can save your life, but it has a lot of negative shit like peripheral neuropathy. You get tissue adhesions, all this crap with the radiation or whatever. And then all of a sudden I come up with some new and improved drug, right? And it has the same effect. And, if you can tolerate the new drug, you should go on the new drug. That's how I think of methadone. And again, it's a great drug. Some people do fantastic on it. But again, you got to go every day. It's a full agonist. You can get high on it. You can overdose on it. It's so long acting and builds into tissue. And you got to deal with that. And there's a lot of myths about methadone. It doesn't go in your bone. I keep getting this crap. Now I'm getting it about Suboxone. It doesn't rot your teeth. It does something else. Can I mention that right now? Since I'm getting more and more things. And in fact, I had some guy at he's like, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I have 2 clients that Suboxone made their teeth fall out. Okay, Derek. For everybody watching, this is an opportunity what critical and formal thinking is, okay? Suboxone isn't rotting anyone's teeth, okay? Period. Here's what opiates do. Methadone does it, Suboxone. You get what's called, well, let me put, you have decreased secretion of saliva in your mouth. You end up getting dry teeth and gums. In it, so does that make it fall out? Number one, that's not direct. That's indirect. Does that make your teeth fall out? No, you can't even say that. In addition, most addicts have a very poor nutritional status, shoving down candy, and poor oral health because it already comes with the disease, right? And they haven't been addressing these issues. So they already got shitty teeth about to go, right? Or some just noticed it for the first time because they are in recovery and going, oh, crap, Mary. And you put all of that together and potentially adding the maintenance medication that gives you dry saliva, decreased saliva secretion, and you got an opportunity for your teeth falling out. This doesn't mean stop your methadone and Suboxone. What it means, now that I told you, practice good oral hygiene, practice good nutrition, see a damn dentist, and worst comes to worst, there's medication for decreased saliva production. I bring this up because I got a guy who runs a treatment center basically cussing me out on the social media, telling me what an idiot I am. Suboxone is really nasty stuff, and he's had 2 clients that lost teeth. And so we have to break through the voodoo of this world and set things straight. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah, everybody needs to just pick yourself up by the bootstrap and somehow miraculously survive this thing and listen to all the gurus out there that didn't take us up. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I'm saying, look, I've been saying for a long time, I think even in the 12-step groups that I went to, we used to talk about it in a funny way. Like, if there was a cure for addiction and it was a single pill, we would say, what would 2 pills do? You know what I'm saying? Because we, being addicts, man, we want to, we're just, that's just how we are. We're always like that. So Austin, you bounced out, man. I was just about to have you join in. I just didn't want to cut off Dr. B in the middle saying whatever. If you want to jump back in, guys, I posted the link once again in the comment section on YouTube, and it's on Facebook. You can join in. We only got a few more minutes here, and I'm going to answer a question that was asked of me, Dr. B.
Please go ahead.
And you can give me your thoughts on this as
No,
well.
I'll answer as many that come your way as well. I want to do this regularly. There's a few topics I want to expand to, including enabling and empowering for family, doctors, and the patients. But go ahead, please.
Yeah. You know, one thing I must say is I got a lot of cavities when I was getting off of the opiates and including the injecting of the heroin. And it did come down to my wife's dentist, by the way, not you. You're a doctor. Like, even if you don't agree with Dr. B here, I found this out prior to even knowing you. When I went to the dentist and they had to extract 3 abscesses, the dentist was like, yeah, I said, look, you can't give me any opioids. Like, I'm a big, like, I got to tell the doctors up front, unless I got to have an arm cut off or some crazy, I can't endure the pain. Like, I don't want to take it. That's just my fear. I don't want to take it. If I have to, I will, but you're going to have to keep my ass in here till the chemicals are out of my system. And I feel like, okay, now I need to get out and make sure I'm good. He told me, he's like, yeah, your saliva dries up. The sockets start to neutralize, and the sockets is the nutrition in the sockets is not there. You know, there's a big problem that comes with that. So I had to have teeth pulled out, and I had people try to compliment my teeth early on, my day 5, because the shiny white light off my camera was blinging my teeth. And it's like, bro, they were so yellow, it wasn't even funny. Look at my day 7 video. You'll see what I'm saying. They said, Derek, what are good ways or steps to prevent a relapse if you're put into an environment where you are tempted to use? And that's deep. That's tough, because for me, I had to stay in contact with people. I had to stay plugged in somehow. We're social creatures. We're meant to be connected to people, some way, shape, or form. And I remember, I'll give you one example. I don't know if this is advice. Take it with what you want. This is my experience. I was 1 year abstinent, right? Off of everything. And I was out there on the road working at HBC, and I knew a dude had pink Roxys. He had the 15 milligram Roxys. And I knew that he had a couple in there. And if I asked him, I knew he'd give me one. And I don't know what it was that day. I just did not feel like good. So I asked him and I said, hey man, you mind if I get one of those Roxys? And he said, yeah, no problem, man. And he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, yeah, I just don't feel good today. And he's like, I remember you telling me though about your drug addiction. Like, can you just take this one and not have another one? And I was honest. Like, I was honest as I could be. And you would, when you least expect, sometimes the people, even my dope dealer who overdosed and died about a year ago, by the way, I found out, you know, I mean, I'm like hearing this stuff. He cared about me as much as I know he wasn't always the best guy. He did things maybe you would think are wrong. He did care about me. Well, this guy said, can you take it and not take another one? And I just was honest. And I tell myself this, even if it isn't true, I believe it. No, I can't. I just can't do it. I'm afraid that if I take it, I'm going to want more, is what I told him. And he said, I can't give it to you, man. I can't do that.
This guy may have saved your freaking life. That is cool, man.
So what I'm getting at, I guess, in this is your environment around you. It's good that they know. And I mean, it's good to tell who you are and what you're trying to do, even if they don't have the same end goal that you do. You know what I'm saying? Because the guy that was using out there in the field for many years while I was working there, he'd come to me for advice about addiction and like, yo, I'm struggling and this and this and that. But he had my back that day because I was just being honest. So I don't know if I can give you any tips if you're in an environment where you're constantly tempted to use, to not fall into that trap. These medically assisted drugs, those are good safe keeps from possibly overdose or also from the cravings of wanting to use. Because on Suboxone, man, I didn't want to use. I tried using it before. I did heroin while I was on Suboxone. I did Opanas while I was on Suboxone, trying it. And you think you're going to get high, and then you're like, dude, I just wasted that. Like, it wasn't worth it. And that's what helped me when I was doing Suboxone. But being honest with the environment I was in and them knowing that I was that kind of person, they saw that, and he was like, I can't do it, man. I can't contribute to your downfall if I know this is gonna ruin your life? I can't do it, bro. So I was like, all right. And I thanked him a week later. I said, you saved my life. I was 1 year clean, and I almost started all the way back over. In my head, I was going to start back over. But that's another stigma I want to ask you, Dr. B. Nobody's in the queue. No one's joined. I want to ask you one more question before we go. In my mind, if I use to use is to die. If I use one time, and there's a stigma in the people who relapse is the term they like to use. I'd like for you to break this down and tear down that stigma, because when I used relapse back before this 5-year run, I was afraid to go back in and try and get help. And, my pride, my ego, I was ashamed. Like, how could I? All that comes with it, even in the 12-step rooms, going up there and picking up a white chip, or you know how it goes. There's a lot of shame and remorse for making a mistake. You, from a doctor standpoint, how do you look at it?
Well, that's why we got to keep doing this. You asked the questions in the perfect way. One of the things I do, and the more education I can do, but mainly with my patient, I just right off the bat tell them, look, I'm not expecting you to use as we get started, but you're going to have to come to terms with one thing. Everything you believe and you felt about addiction and the way it's looked at and what my expectations are, just flush that shit down the toilet now. I don't give a shit what you do or if there's a use happens. What I do care is you get your butt back in here as soon as possible. Why? That's what makes it a chronic disease. If you come and again, you see this sort of almost fastest approach to the number of days you're clean. I can care less except to be able to make good medical decisions. If it's been about a year, that's good. That's all I want to know. Every day you're clean and moving forward in recovery, you're actually rebuilding the architecture of your brain. Okay. And that means you have tools to deal with stress, which is the number one cause of relapse. Now, to use, it's insane to say it's shame. There should be shame with it. You know why? Because that stuff is so deeply ingrained, and the receptors and the mechanism is still there. The second you do it, and I mean this in a physical way, at the micro way, for people out there, your brain just turns that shit on. There's muscle memory, there's neuron memory, right? It's like, oh, there it is, right? Mm-hmm. So and the way you got to that day is the same way that day developed. You had stress, events happened, you drove by something, you felt euphoric because you're making a bunch of money. A million different ways let's call it all some sort of stress. And so, number one, it should be expected, but that doesn't mean, I can relapse, great. Number two, every day you're clean, you've built tools, theoretically, to move past it. And part of that is to accept the fact that there is no shame. The biggest mistake you can make is bounce, disappear, and go on a run and turn this into a real relapse. So get the idea of shame out of your mind. You aim for long-term remission. Would you be ashamed if your cancer came back after 12 years? No, right? Yes, you had a cancer. You do 5 years of surveillance, but it's always there, and you have an increased probability of it coming back than the person who's never had that one particular cancer. In the same way, this is the same thing. There's mechanisms in your midbrain and frontal cortex that if you are in the right environment, right situation, right event, there is a potential and a possibility of using and that turning things up like a Christmas tree. And you should be aware of that. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you just learned about your asthma for the first time, you're like, oh, what the heck is this? And then you end up in the hospital. If now it's 15 years later and the stuff starts to come on, do you go about things in the way you went about it the first time? No. You're like, oh, shit, that's my asthma. I better go take that inhaler, talk to that doctor. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All the analogies are there. There should be no shame.
I think divorcing morality from the substance abuse is such a big deal, and society is going to continue to do so as we educate ourselves on the medical side of this and divorce that whole moralistic idea. Yeah, bad things. You do bad things while you're in that state, of course. The same reason if I was starving, and I'm not going to lie, I tell anyone this. I tell my wife this all the time. For you guys, for my 3 kids and my wife, if we didn't have money and we had to survive, I would. And I don't care. If I couldn't work, let's say, I would find a way to get you food, even if it was to do wrong, to try and make my family survive, right? That surviving mechanism that gets down into my core, into my instincts, is what addiction was for me. And it was in my instincts. I was, it took over. It took over.
Well, let me, sorry, you keep saying great stuff. And in fact, I just posted something on TikTok about what lying is. You know how you said it becomes instinct and it took over for you?
Yeah.
That's what it actually does. Let's take one piece of that lying. Okay, you lied to get your drug. Okay, I can show you that from imaging and all this other stuff and the thickening and lightening up of areas of brain on PET scan functional imaging. That's
why I love you.
on imaging, lying actually in some ways is recruited by the evolutionary parts of the brain as a survival mechanism. It's fascinating because once you do this long enough, the reward circuitry now turns into a survival circuitry, and you do whatever to get it. And I just posted a video about that a couple of weeks ago, which really should work to destigmatize the substance abuse community. They're not liars. They're not thieves. The evolutionary part of the brain just took over. Now let's go back to the society pictures. Should he be in prison? And let's go back to the society pictures. Why can't we create a situation where there's decriminalization and the disease is managed that way instead of creating drug dealers, people getting needles, hiding from their family, their loved ones, their life, losing everything, their job? You see how if we take these steps back,
wow,
it can all be stepped. Just from that one thing that you said, you wouldn't have to lie. And one last thing, I'm sorry, I'll stop. I just posted something else about the predecessor to the DEA after the Drug Harrison Act in 1930. The first guy who was the head of the Bureau of Narcotics was a liar, psychopath, and really worked to stigmatize addiction in the late 20s, early 30s. It's a fascinating story, but he essentially lied to turn the addict into a monster. And it was mainly directed, and there's a lot of story to that, to the African Americans, to the Mexicans, and the poor. Before that, there was a guy in California that started creating the stigma of who the addict is. One of the things, the consequences of them practicing law enforcement that really wasn't written into the Drug Harrison Act is this: thousands of good guys who were going to work every day, maintaining their addiction, doctors treating it appropriately with whatever it was, heroin and morphine, trying to come down. Overnight, you had hundreds of thousands of guys that became essentially homeless, buying their dope for 100 times marked up price, and going to prisons. And they were maintaining just fine. And it was all based on this demonization of the addict. Great stuff. And we can get into it later. I want you to know everything is bullshit.
Yeah, Dr. B, I want to say this to the audience. And first of all, thank you all for tuning in. Like, you guys are just awesome. You know, this started off as just a journal, so to speak, like just saying, hey, I can make it. I can do it. I'm just like uplifting you, let you know you're not alone and have a nice day. And then I didn't post for 3 weeks to a month, and I'm back at work, and I'd made it. But I realized after 5 years, Dr. B, between me and the guy who never did a drug in his life, between me and the woman who never did a drug in her life, there's really not much of a difference between us all. We have different addictions, different things. And when someone tries to make you be something as an outcast to society or something like that, they have their own defects. Everybody's sick in some way. And that is what I really appreciate what you're doing here. You're hitting this and you're saying, don't let the stigma, which is what I'm trying to break the stigma. You are too, but I mean, I'm the guy who was the caricature of an addict who made it out and is trying to break the stigma as someone who, quote unquote, for the recovery gurus, abstinent, saying that ain't the answer. Okay, that's not the answer. There's many, many paths to making it here. And to say to you, we all have that same problem, an inherent problem that we all have. And it's either what does Gabor Mate say? Addiction to power, or there's a power to addiction. And so as those two things humans struggle with, and the ancient philosophies all try to wrestle with this. So philosophy is important too. We could do shows on that at some point. Someone said we need a Dr. B show for sure. Well, we just might make that happen as you get big enough, Dr. B. I'll be asking to join your show, okay?
Well, look, Derek, you're amazing. And in fact, as you know, I don't deal with too many people in this community, whether it's treatment provider. And I've always cared a lot about you and what you do. And it resonates with me. And I really care about CG Kid too. He's a great guy. I advocate what he's doing. In fact, I got to reach out to him. Hopefully we develop this for all you guys out there on TikTok, on Derek's channel. We'll get this up on my channel as well. By the way, please go subscribe to my channel as well.
Yes.
I don't know what it's called. And Derek's channel, it's just Derek Lambert if you guys are on TikTok. But I think we can develop this, and we will do this. You're fantastic. Your presence, I think it's very endearing to the community out there. And I always told you, and we talked about it this morning, I think this community loves or appreciates what we're doing because I think we're honest and authentic, and I hope somewhat knowledgeable about what we're saying. But we'll make this happen, man. This was a cool break in my shitty Sunday.
Well, let me show everybody real quick, just so they know where they can go. Dr. B right here is his YouTube channel. All you got to do is type in Dr. B, Dr. B. You guys, I don't know why I didn't put that. I put the other links to your stuff in the description, but I will add that now. But this is where you go, guys. Hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit that all button on the bell here so you're notified. You even have a join option, man. I haven't done the join thing yet, but
I don't even know what that means. But what does that mean?
Well, you have you obviously have a tech guy that works on your stuff that knows how to. They can join for like small fees and they can get like emojis and special content, things like that with your channel. But you got a lot of stuff, man, you've been doing on your YouTube. You're growing and getting that out there. So guys, go support him in what he's doing because he's real. Guys, let me just say this before we go. I was in your office. Like we hugged each other. All right. Like this was not just a video on internet. And this was about a year before COVID, a year and a half or so, maybe not even that. Yeah. And you were talking to patients and man, you had a colorful group of people, like everything from someone who's still actively out there abusing that's kind of trying, to make it to people who are like high functioning owners, CEOs of companies coming in. And I was just like watching you. And I said, dude, that was really interesting to see how you personally deal with every single one of them in a unique manner. I hope more doctors I'm sure there are plenty out there, Dr. B. I'm not trying to say
there's great ones out there, but I appreciate that. If you come now, it's even more interesting because we've had a flood of mid-level students that are rotating with us. And they want to join. One of them, she's great, Amber. She's like, Dr. B, I'm off next week. Can I just come and work anyway? I'm like, really? You want to? I wouldn't do that. I'd go chill out. But she's like, no, I can't believe how amazing this is. And we just brought in an amazing gal. If you come up, you'll meet her. And I've been training her about what I do. And it's pretty cool. And come on out. You'll see even more neat stuff. that we're doing now. I'm trying to,
so much.
I'm trying to give everybody full service of everything to the extent we can afford it and grow financially, because we have to, man.
Yeah.
You know, people criticize, oh, you're doing this for the money. And I want to say, you
Don't
idiot.
listen.
I made 5 times more as a professor of emergency medicine than this and worked half the time. But this was awesome. Guys on TikTok, Derek is pretty cool. Those of you that also know, for some reason, we all know each other. And Nicole actually works with me. Nicole on Real Talk Recovery. She is badass too. A lot of you, when you call, that's who you talk to. And both of their channels are pretty badass. I am promoting it because I like these guys, and he is the rock star as far as I'm concerned. Eric, this was cool.
Thank you.
Are we ready to shut down? What do you want to do?
Yeah, let's do this again. I really enjoy this. You guys, next week, consider joining and coming on. You might have to wait in the queue for a second, so don't disappear yet, but I like it when the people come on and actually join us, because you get to hear various different backgrounds with different people, and we can all relate. So, stay tuned. Next week, let's do this again. And Dr. B, go subscribe to his channel. Hit that like button on the way out of this video. And remember, survive. No matter what. Survive.
I agree. Okay, Derek, I'll give you a buzz and just say hello. But hey, guys, go subscribe to Derek's channel as well. And I'll see you guys soon on TikTok. Peace.
Love you guys.
Bye. I don't even know.